Hey guys, how you doing? We are finally at day 5, the last day of the challenge here. So we've come a long way. For those of you guys who are just finding,
For those of you guys
oh,
who are
oh Lordy. For those of you guys who are just coming here, this is a challenge that's going to really help you to get unstuck if that is what you're struggling with. For those of you guys who are just really feeling like the pain just isn't getting any better, and for those of you who are also feeling like you're suffering all the time, like you're in that headspace where you just feel like things are never going to get better, this is always going to be here, like this is for you. So I want to invite you to really give yourself the space and celebrate that you're here to begin with. The hardest part is to go and show up because you are going against this pattern that your mind is used to, right? It's used to being stuck. It's used to, being in pain. It's used to feeling like things aren't going to get better. It's used to being in a lot of these negative headspaces. So for you to like break free from that and be here, that takes a lot. So I just want you to really take a moment to let that sink in. That is amazing. I also want to start out today the same way that we started out with day 1. So I want you to repeat this to yourself and say it out loud, because when you involve your body and move your body in some sort of way while you are thinking something that you want, believing something that you want, it is a much louder statement to your mind, because like I said, your mind has a lot of stuff that isn't even yours, that a lot of us easily start to identify with that, right? So I want you to say, I see you, I hear you, and I honor you. I know some of y'all might be a little hesitant to go and say that. I had a hard time just being able to say I love me for many, many years. So I know that there's a lot of resistance going on in the mind for some of you guys, but I want you to push through it and just don't worry about how it comes out. Just say it. And I want you to know that while you are thinking it and you're saying it with your body, with your mind, with your if you speak with your hands like me, also know that not only did I just tell you that, everybody else who is currently watching this challenge on their own time is also telling you that. So I want you to really kind of start to feel that energy, and pay attention to how you feel with that. Because, like I said, the mind is used to a lot of things. And if we were completely okay with how everything was in our mind, and our lives, we wouldn't be seeking out challenges. We wouldn't be seeking out, like, how to go and do XYZ. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know? So I wanted to start there. I want to do a quick recap on what these other 4 days have been. So if you want to go and watch the replays, if you missed it, you can. I will put the link to the playlist there because it'll be on my YouTube channel. But I also wanted to go and take some time to be like, okay, day 1, we started out with beliefs. What thoughts, what beliefs, like what clues are our bodies and our minds and our spirit telling us in terms of what those blockages are? So, what is contributing to you feeling stuck? What are the clues that you're giving yourself about your pain, and what pain is ready to be healed at this time? Because sometimes we think that it has to look a certain way, and some other pain is what's really ready to come out first before we can go and deal with the other pain, right? So the power of just beliefs in your thoughts and just that awareness, starting to notice your patterns, your habits, the things that you don't even realize you're doing because it's been autopilot for so long, right? And then day 2 was all about looking at strengths and starting to connect with our intuition more. A lot of us have pain not because of something physical per se, but some of us have amplified pain because we're doing what everybody else wants us to do, and we're not actually speaking our mind. We're not living our truth. We're trying to basically fit somebody else's path into our own. That adds in a lot of stress, and pain, y'all know, don't go well together at all, So like all these different things that can help ease your pain or amplify it depending on how you deal with it. And so many of us are so used to being pointed out our faults, everything that we're doing wrong. And some of us pick ourselves apart on everything that we're doing wrong, everything that is wrong with us as a person and all these different things. And that's so far on the negative scale, like on the weaknesses kind of scale. It's like, okay, let's try and balance that back out. Let's bring it back to bring some of that focus from the negative to the positive. Because when you focus on negative things and that's all you focus on. So if you're only focusing on, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stuck, I'm in pain. If you only focus on, I'm suffering, things will never get better, oh my gosh, woe is me. If you focus on that all the time, your body's listening to you. So your body's going to be like, oh, well, this is what they're focusing on. This is what it's telling me to do. So we're going to go and find more of that stuff. Yeah, we're going to go and do that. And then when your true self is trying to go and do something and flow through you instead, you run into a boxing match basically with your true self and your mind. Because remember, you are not your mind. You have a mind, right? So we focused on that on day 2. Then day 3, we focused on the importance of our environment and how that can go and help amplify or ease our pain, depending on what we do about it, and the different parts of our environment. Because for some people, they have supportive people and their living space is chaotic. For some people, it's the other way around. And a lot of times there's something chaotic going on energy-wise inside you, whether it is your mind, like you have those thoughts that they keep coming back and they don't stop. And it's like a really bad thought loop. That's chaotic energy in your mind. And a lot of us are so used to it, sometimes we don't even realize it's there. And different ways that we can go and adjust, you know what I'm saying? The different ways that we can go and adjust and make changes in our environment. So even if you can't just get up and be like, that's it, I'm out. Even if you can't do that, there are still different things you can tweak, like your exposure to certain relationships. If you're in a situation where you have to deal with this person, for example, that brings your mood down, brings your energy down, has things to say that are shameful and disempowering, or they complain all the time. If you find that you pick that up from other people and then you started doing that, you know what I'm saying? You see, there are different ways you can tweak your environment. And even if everybody around you is like, you can still create your own environment online with groups of people that, are empowering, that are supportive. You can choose what places on the internet you want to go and, spend your time. There are so many different people who literally all they do on social media is post motivational quotes. And I go and watch those every single day. That's one thing you can do. Looking up wallpapers on Google Images, so many different things that you can do to change your environment. And I want you to really pay attention to the thoughts, the intensity of your thoughts as you go through this, your feelings. Does your pain start to ease when you do certain things, or when you think certain things, or when you change your focus from, oh my gosh, I'm in pain, this hurts, this is terrible, to, I'm grateful for this. This isn't hurting as bad as it was before. I'm still here. Like different things when you start to change your focus, like see how that shifts your energy. And then on day 4, we talked a lot about balance. That has been the biggest key for me to heal. And it's been a recurring thing I've been seeing with people in general, whether they heal or they don't. The people that are stuck kind of in the same space and they don't overcome their barriers and they just settle, with what they have, even though they want more. or they want to experience something better, I've noticed that there's usually imbalance somewhere, and there are so many different places where you can easily not be balanced, right? And then the people who do manage to overcome this obstacle, overcome this pain, overcome this block, overcome these thoughts of being like feeling like you're suffering all the time, the people who manage to overcome that usually end up restoring balance somewhere in their lives, somewhere in the mind, somewhere in the body, somewhere inside. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the things that I have personally learned, and I have seen this theme be repeated, is that whatever energies are going on, like in your headspace, like whatever the status of your body and your headspace and like how you're processing things, usually ends up projected and reflected to your life around you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'll give you an example. A big pain point for me for the longest time was relationships, because I didn't trust people because of the I thought it was just because of the experiences that I had growing up. Part of it was also I was holding on to that stuff. So then I show up differently when I go and interact with people. I show up differently and say things different. I look at things different. That may not be accurate as far as how I'm interpreting things. And then I'm sitting here wondering why. I'm like, okay, then it reinforces, okay, I don't really want to be around people. I can't trust people. But then when you do find someone, it's like, ooh, I like talking to this person. And you finally get to that point, then your mind's just, it's used to that pattern. So then you start doubting and not trusting yourself. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, I don't trust my own judgment. There has to be something up here. You see how that can be like a really vicious cycle because of that like imbalance kind of thing. So day 4, we did a lot of sharing on what different ways, at least that I found that was helpful in terms of balancing. And if you want to go and check that out, that is going to be like part of the challenge. So we've talked about all these different things, right? And now today I want to talk about doing things different. So I'm sure I'm not alone with this. How many of y'all have had it where like, you know what you need to do, or you know what you want to do? Like, okay, like I know this thought about myself I don't like. I know that this thought of me not liking myself is not helping. So I don't want to think that anymore. So okay, like, all right, so I got to do something about this. But you don't know where to start. You're just like, okay, I know I got to do something, but I am not seeing the forest through the trees here. Or how many of you are like, okay, I know I want to go and take this food that's not good for me out of my diet, out of what I eat. And then you start doing it and it's just like, and you just run into a ton of resistance. And then you're just like, well, it's not working because, this is not pleasant. So today I really wanted to take some time to talk about different ways that you can do something different. Or how about this? How many of y'all have got some sort of chronic illness? That a chronic illness that has flares. Your girl had rheumatoid arthritis once upon a time, and you're going into a flare and you're like, okay, I know I need to do something. I can't just lay in bed all day. I'm in a flare. Like, I need to go and do something. And I'm like trying to figure out all these different things to do. I'm like, well, they say exercise, but that's going to cause more, that's going to cause more pain. Like, I'm in a flare. This is not it, or getting up and going outside and like, I don't have the energy at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you want to do, or like, I got to do something, but you're just like, you're either coming up with blocks because you don't know where to start, or all the things that you're thinking of is like, that's not appropriate in this situation right now. I can't be alone on that one. So I wanted to go over some ways that you already probably do action, and it's just a matter of reframing and give you some ideas of things to do. So that way, if you are in a flare, there's still something you can do. It may have to be different from how your mind is used to that action looking like, but there's still something you can do. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to start out with these 6 areas, okay? And I'm going to just list them real quick and then go through each one kind of little by little and go into more depth. And like I said, anything that resonates with you, write it down. Any insights, any feelings that pop up, any thoughts that pop up, if you end up feeling like really sad or really angry at something that I said, write that down, because what you're doing is your body, your mind, and your spirit, it's all giving you clues right now as far as what pain is trying to come up to the surface so it can be released from your body. So let's start out with, there's thinking differently. You don't have to be physically like up and atom and mobile and all of that to start to do that. And when I say think differently and all these other things differently, I don't want you to picture, oh, we're going to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour. It does not work that way, okay? You have to start out just like a car, okay? We don't just hit the gas pedal and then all of a sudden we're at 100. We have to like go at our own pace, like we have to go through the different gears. There's the first gear with the rev, and then it goes to the second gear with the rev, and then go to the third gear with the rev, So this is all about balance, okay? Balance and pacing. But there's think differently, see differently. There's hearing things differently. Speaking, like your communication, how you speak differently. Moving differently. So moving in terms of like whether it's physically like how you move or just like the flow of your day. You know what I'm saying? Or do differently. And that's just, when I think do differently, I think I'm going to do this thing spontaneously, doing something spontaneous, like some sort of activity, you know what I'm saying? Something that breaks up that monotony of your day, because as you start to do things differently, you're going to start to notice different results. You know what I'm saying? So those are the 6 that I wanted to really take the time to focus on today. So first off is thinking differently. And this also goes with feeling differently too. There's a bit of a thinking and feeling cycle that goes in our minds. And you can think something and you're going to feel a certain way because of that thought. Not because it's true or not true. You're going to just feel something because of a thought. So if I am thinking I don't like myself, I'm not going to really feel happy about that. I'm not. And I noticed the times that I did go and smile and like giggle and laugh when I said that usually meant I was trying to numb and avoid the emotion that was coming with it. Okay. So the real emotion that's connected to that thought is I feel like shit. But I don't want to connect to that feeling because it's painful. Because remember, the mind likes to do 2 things. Its main job is to try and keep you safe. And its version of safe is avoid pain and seek pleasure, not the quality of it, not whether or not it's sustainable long term. If it's painful, it wants to move away from it. If it's pleasurable, it wants to go towards it. That's how a lot of addictions start. That's how a lot of negative, harmful habits start, because then it becomes imbalanced. You know what I'm saying? And it's that your true self, that's aware above these thoughts, above these feelings, that can tell the difference between all of these things, which is why intuition is so important, because that's what your intuition does, So for those of you who connect better with your thoughts and have issues connecting with your feelings, which happens a lot, and a lot of people do it and don't realize it. I did that for many years, didn't realize it because I was trying to tell myself something different. And like my intuition, my inner guidance, like my true self was like, no, this is bullshit, But if you don't know where to start out with what thoughts constantly pop up. You know what I'm saying? Whether it is a loop where you're like in one of those spaces where like it just keeps on looping, or, it's one of those things where you just start to notice, I think this a lot. Or same with feelings. If you're comfortable with the feelings and you don't connect with the thoughts as well, Then focus on that. Focus on being aware of the patterns. And then once you know, okay, I picked up on that pattern, because you're going to have a lot, you know, you've been around for many years here. You got a lot of them. And then what if, with this curiosity, what if I felt a different way? What if I didn't feel unhappy? What if I didn't feel like my pain was never going to end? What if I felt this or thought this, but had a different energy behind it? Those kinds of things is what's going to break these patterns that you've been holding on to, that you may not want anymore because it's not serving you anymore. And the first step is to be aware and then start just doing little things to break the pattern. Your mind is going to fight you on this because, again, our mind likes repetition. Okay, our mind likes repetition, but clearly we're in some cycles, which is repetition, that we want to break out of, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be wanting something different. We wouldn't be wanting things to change, right? So this is something that you can do. You do not have to take a whole hour. This does not have to be this huge research paper. You can take 10 seconds at a time throughout your day. You can go and process this stuff on the toilet if you work long hours. You can do this first thing in the morning when you wake up. Actually, when you wake up, that is a good time, because at that point you can be like, okay, I just woke up. Where am I at? Where's my headspace right now? That gives you a lot of insight. And I find that for me, whatever I'm focused on at the beginning of the day tends to set the stage for how the rest of my day ends up going on in like mood, energy, thought basis. You know what I'm saying? So I really encourage you, if you don't do this already, one of the ways that you can start to, also fight that habit, if those thoughts and those feelings are like too painful, like, no, what if you start out the day with, you wake up, say good morning, and say one thing, or think about one thing that you're thankful for, and just focus on that one thing. So if you're thankful for a relationship, if you're thankful for, the TV shows that you get to watch, if you are thankful for the sun coming up that day, if you're thankful for the wallpapers you get to go and see, if you're thankful for the reality TV shows that have other people's drama, so you can go and be like, man, my life is a lot of things, but it sure ain't that. You know what I'm saying? Anything that's going to bring a smile to your face, focus on that. And it's a muscle you're going to build. So like focus on it for 1 minute, 15 seconds, and whatever you do, pay attention to that feeling, pay attention to the thoughts that pop up there. I guarantee you, when you start your day like that, it's going to be different than if you started your day listing and paying attention to everything that's wrong. That has been me for like personal experience, right? Okay, so the next one is seeing things differently. And when I say seeing, I mean like perception. So working on thoughts and feelings helps with this immensely. That being said, if that is not the area that you are ready to start with, like with all of that, that's fine too. One of the ways though that I found was very helpful is just pick one thing. It doesn't even have to be something that's going on like in your mind right now. You can choose something totally neutral, right? Like, I don't know. I'll use this is a palm root kind of crystal here. So if you look at the shape, this isn't what's going on in my life. This is just a shape, just a crystal, right? And you can look at this as a star that's hanging from the moon, or you can flip it upside down, and then you see the moon hanging from a star. You know what I'm saying? Like, the perception could be totally different, or this could look like a hook instead of a moon. It doesn't have to necessarily be that abstract, but take something that you normally look at and interpret as it looking like this, and be like, but it also kind of looks like this. That's kind of what I did a lot when I was looking at the clouds. Like if you go and gaze at clouds, if you'll see one thing and then you'll go and look again and be like, that looks like something different. Just that practice right there, that's practicing, looking at things from a different perspective without having to go into the super deep, deep rooted emotional mental stuff. If you're not ready to go to the emotional mental side yet, this is just an activity that you can do. Also, I also really like to feel my crystals. So getting in touch with your senses too, I know a lot of people are not comfortable in their bodies and they're actually not used to being present in their bodies. You know this if you find yourself daydreaming a lot, if you find yourself worrying about the future a lot, if you find yourself worrying about the past a lot, you're worrying about everything else that's going on except literally where you are right now, what is happening right now. And I mean right now, not the near future. And you're calling it the present, like what's going to happen in 5 minutes. That's not the present, that's the future, But as you practice that, you'll start to, like, that skill is going to start to, go into how you see things differently. So then you might start to notice that you might have one thought about something and then it's like, oh, but you know what? I also see it this way too. Kind of like, I'll give you an example. I used to hate it when the sun came up because I was not a morning person. See, you're hearing my thoughts. That's not me. That's my thoughts. I thought and believed I was not a morning person. So when the sun came up, I'm like, man, I got to get up. I want to go back to sleep. I don't want to get up for today. This is gonna, oh my God. Can we go back? Can we go back to when it was dark out again? Can I just go back to sleep? You see how, like, I'm not in the present. I am veering off somewhere, for one. And for two, like, that's like a vicious thought loop. So when I see the sun come up, my perception is, ugh, that's not what I want. That doesn't help me feel good, especially if I have chronic pain or I feel like I'm suffering all the time or I feel like I'm stuck. That doesn't help me relax. That doesn't help me move forward. That helps me tense up, focus on the problem, and be everywhere but in the present. But what if I went and looked at the sun and be like, I love the lighting right now of the sun today. Like, this is not bad. I'm like, dude, I get to go and see the trees. I get to go and see and hear the birds. You don't hear the birds as much when it's dark out, different things that are there. But if it's not like something that you're focusing on, your mind's not noticing that, right? So that's what I mean by seeing things differently. Do it with objects if you're not ready to go into your thoughts and, perceptions about things. Eventually you'll start to get to a point where you'll be on your own. You'll just be like, this painful situation, I wonder what it is teaching me. What do I want to learn from this, instead of it's hurting all the time? Like, when will this stop? When will this stop? Like, make it stop. You know what I'm saying? Totally different energies, totally different perceptions. And I guarantee you, your body is going to respond totally differently to each one. So then the next thing is hearing differently. This is a more subtle version of seeing things differently. And that is because not everybody is, everybody's like dominant senses that they use more often is going to be different. So some people are they're really good at seeing things like concrete. Some people are good at really seeing things abstractly. And some people are really good at hearing and reading in between the lines of what was said. Some people think they're good at that and they're not, because their mind is full of a bunch of stuff that's getting in the way of clearly seeing that. You're working kind of with foggy glasses, you know what I'm saying? And that goes for the others too. So again, you don't have to get up and change your entire day. You don't have to go and get up and, do an overhaul on a diet with this. You don't have to get up and go and do all these different exercises like every single day. Like, you can be in a flare. and just listen. Even if you're by yourself and you're not around a lot of people, listen to yourself. I want you to really think about how you're hearing things, because I don't know about you guys, but I've caught myself hearing things wrong before. You know, where you hear things in a totally different context than what the person was talking about, right? And you're just like, ooh. You know, that can happen for something that's like totally funny, and that can also happen when things are serious too, right? So if you're going, if you're like, on a call with somebody, you talking to somebody, or you're watching like a TV show or something, and that person says, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, how are you hearing it? Are you hearing, "Hey, how you doing?" Or are you hearing, "Hey, how you doing?" You see the different tones? Those are totally different energies with those two ways of saying it. And then it also can give you clues with your perceptions too, because say you watch that show, or that person, or you just get a vibe, you're just like, I don't trust that person. If XYZ person is someone you don't trust and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" Even if they're saying it with this genuine tone, you're thinking, what's the angle? So you're hearing sarcasm that isn't really there. You're hearing mistrust that is all in your mind, not you, your mind. And are you going to respond to that differently than if you trusted that person? And if that person, you saw them as being genuine? Probably, Same with, say you know this person, or you see this person on the TV show, and they usually they've shown enough to you that they are calm, they are friendly, they're personable, they're compassionate, like they really care, right? And they just happen to have an off day, and they just one day they just snap, they say something in a harsher tone than you're used to. Okay, well, are you here, like, how are you hearing that? So if you trust that person and they respond harshly or impatiently, and like, okay, I know this person is this and this, they typically do this, that's not like them, they must be having a rough day, I wonder what happened. Versus you don't trust them from the jump because you have this belief that people are not trustworthy. You're going to think, oh, it don't matter how nice they were all these different times before. It's like, oh, no, that's who they truly are, which is a belief. And then that changes your energy. And then they sense that energy. Even if you're not in front of this person, you could just be talking to them on the phone. We've all done this. You can sense a vibe from people that are just like, and you go and distance yourself. And a lot of us carry these things and we don't even realize we do, So paying attention to how you're hearing things. And if you find that you heard something wrong, laugh at it, add some humor to it. The next one is speaking differently, which again kind of piggies back off to hearing differently, but it's still important. So when it comes to how you speak, what you speak, your entire energy of it all, it's not just verbally. What are you telling people with your eyes? If I'm looking at someone and I'm having a conversation and they're looking down, and that tells me a lot without them having to say a single word. And you guys have experienced this too. When you are talking to someone and they're looking everywhere else but you, like they're looking over here, do you feel heard? Do you feel like they're listening? Well, guess what? That's what they're telling you with their body language. So, like I said, different ways of like communicating. If you're used to, like, say you're like me and you were you learned that people are scary, and that they make you nervous, and you don't trust people, and all of these things that are, again, in the mind, but these are patterns you're working with. You might notice You know, you try and play it cool when someone comes up and talks to you and you're looking away, and your body language, like what I'm doing right now, is like, you see I'm smiling, but my face is really telling you, yeah, I don't really wanna. Yeah, yeah, I'm not listening. I don't want to be here right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even have to verbally say anything. And you can still have a calm, friendly kind of tone, but you see what I just told you with my face? You know what I'm saying? You know, or your hands or your body language. Are you like this going through your day? Like, are you more open, closed, open? You know what I'm saying? That by itself, those are simple like shifts that you can do in your energy. And not only is it going to be communicating to the other person, but it's also going to be communicating to yourself differently too. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a bit of a cycle. Your body responds to the thoughts and feelings in your mind. It responds to what's going on in the world around you. But then at the same time, your body is communicating to your mind. So if you're sitting here all tensed up like this, you're telling your mind, oh, she's not feeling safe. She's not feeling safe at all. Can you see the different energies coming from me based on just from like body language alone, based on eye contact alone, my voice, my tone, not just what I'm saying, but like how this communication is really coming out. We all have patterns like that. You know what I'm saying? We all have communication patterns. So, you know, you don't have to go and like analyze every single little thing about you. But if you notice, I look down a lot. I didn't even notice that for many years. When you notice you looking down a lot, one thing you could do is just practice looking up, maintaining eye contact. Even if it ends up being one of those things where you're looking up and you're looking over here and you're looking over there, but you're not looking at the ground. You know what I'm saying? That's breaking the pattern. You're good. This is really going to be like pacing kind of thing. Like, you have to go at your own pace and really be patient with yourself when it comes to these things. So, how you speak, these are all different things that you can go and practice bit by bit throughout the day. You don't have to go and practice it every single second of the day, but you can go and be like, okay, I'm aware right now. Let me go and let's try this. Okay, I wonder. I'm like, ooh, I've noticed how that person's talking to me. Oh, okay. Oh, I know how I'm thinking in this situation. This is what I'm picking up. You know what I'm saying? That awareness. And it's going to be a constant awareness thing. There is no finish line like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm aware. I don't have to do anything else. I'm aware of everything that is out there. Human beings are very expansive. So we're always going to be learning about ourselves. We're always going to be growing. We're always going to be becoming more aware about different parts of ourselves. And that's kind of how life is, And there's nothing wrong with that. But why not make it more fun and exciting and make it a healing experience, So then I go to, let's see, we did think differently, see differently, hear differently, speak differently, move differently. This kind of also goes in with body language, but it also can do with posture too. How many people are used to being slumped over and they don't even notice that they look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame? It's okay. I've been that too, It's one of those things where, again, our minds and our bodies they're in these different patterns. And that's literally what your life is. It's a combination of all the patterns and habits that you are holding on to and doing. Right? So even whether it is changing your gait and how you walk, like standing tall or sitting tall, or you see how I'm sitting more openly, you know what I'm saying? Instead of sitting like this. which I got very, very used to, especially if you're one of those people who is always taking notes, if you're in school, you're studying, or you're on your phone, you know, yeah, so doing different things just change your posture. Like I said, you communicate with your body too, not just with the words that come out of your mouth and not just with the tone with your mouth too. It also is your body. Your body is communicating back with your mind, and your mind is communicating with your body, and they both listen to each other. Okay. This also goes again, like I said, with your true self, with your spirit. Your mind and your body respond to that too. But what tends to be louder? The physical world around us, what's going on in the mind, what we're seeing, what we're experiencing. A lot of those times, those are what is louder. And so once the clutter and some of these things start to be brought to light, then it's like, oh, I see you. Okay. All right. It's not as powerful at that point because you see it for what it is. And it's like, okay, now I want to go and do something different. So with moving differently, it could be starting a stretch routine. It could be, just changing your posture. If you really want more like in-depth on moving differently, outside of like body language, highly recommend that you go and talk to, your healthcare team, physical therapists, occupational therapists, holistic chiropractors. They're just, they have so much knowledge on these things. Like I learned a lot from them, so don't be afraid to go and, work with other people to help support you in breaking these habits that you don't want and that contribute to your suffering, that contribute to your blocks, that contribute to your pain. And don't be afraid to go and, ask for help, get support. You know what I'm saying? None of us are put on this planet to be totally alone. Humans we don't operate that way, Now, not every single interaction and relationship is equal. That's true. But I found that personally, I made a lot more progress when I started to invest in getting support to help me bridge those gaps faster, to be able to help me see what's really starting to repeatedly come out, to help me be able to see, okay, this is what's really important to me. This is where I want to go and focus on. I found that very helpful, So the last thing, which kind of culminates everything, is do differently. And all of these things that I already mentioned before, so thinking differently, seeing differently, hearing differently, speaking, moving differently, feeling differently, all of these things is in action. I want to remind you that because a lot of us, I think, are accustomed in our minds to thinking that in order to do something different, you have to physically go and get up and go and do something. So if you are sitting there resting, you're not doing anything. And that's not true. Resting is an action. Those of you who are goers like I used to be, y'all know it's actually a struggle. Y'all have to actually put work to go and sit still. So you're doing something, or thinking differently. A thought is doing something. Being aware and paying attention to patterns, that is doing something. Scientists and researchers do that all the time. That's not sitting there and doing nothing, So why are we any different, Paying attention to your energy, how you speak, what your body is telling you, picking up all these different clues. All these are doing differently, Changing habits is doing differently, but it doesn't have to be physical to count as you doing something differently. And I want to really emphasize that because I kept thinking back when I had my rheumatoid arthritis and I was sitting in the bed and I just was like, I did not have the energy to go and do what I wanted to do. Like I barely had the energy to go and help my cats, like I needed a lot of assistance, initially, and I felt my independence starting to shift, and I was like, I'm just sitting in the bed doing nothing. That is a thought, that is a belief, That is not you. That is in the mind. That is the pattern, one of the patterns that your mind is used to having. So what you're really actually doing is you're healing. You're resting. You're recharging. You know what I'm saying? Do you get upset at the car when the car starts to get overheated in the engine and it starts to slow down? No, you pull it on the side of the road. You might be annoyed that it happened, but you're not like, oh my gosh, like, no, it's expected. If you overheat the engine in the car, that you're going to have problems. Our bodies are no different, you know? So when your car starts to go up to like, the 3 gear, the 4 gear, the 5 gear, the 6 gear, you know, and you find, oh, okay, it's getting louder. It's things are getting more like hectic and the stuff. And then, you find that you let it go back down to a 2 or a 3 gear, or a 1 gear when you're driving. You don't judge the car for that. So why do we have to go and judge our bodies for that? Why do we have to go and judge ourselves for that? We don't have to do that anymore. And I want to really invite you to give yourself permission to do that. Now, in terms of doing differently, one of the things that has helped me a lot in this category is grounding. I find, as I had said before, when you've been through pain, your mind likes to avoid that. So if you had a painful experience with your body, whether it was like a physical trauma or a more psychological trauma or spiritual, whatever you've been through that's been painful, right? Your mind starts to sometimes link that to the body. So then you start to notice, or maybe you don't notice, I did, that I didn't like to be in the physical world. I like to daydream. So I found myself throwing myself into all of these different worlds, some of which were like, in my mind, in my third eye, mind's eye. Some of them were like, okay, I'm going to be watching all of these different TV shows, not because I enjoy them, because there's a difference between watching TV shows because you enjoy it and watching TV shows because you're trying to escape your own life. Your girl's been there for many years, okay? And being honest with yourself, because I used to tell myself, no, I enjoy these shows. And it's true, I enjoyed these shows. But I also was watching these shows because I was trying to escape my own life. As soon as the TV show went off, my mood shifted and I was depressed again. How you doing? So it's one of those things that, you're going to get different clues if you find that you like to daydream, if you find that you're anxious. Anxiety is literally not being grounded, because if you are grounded, there's no place for anxiety. So if you find that you're anxious and overwhelmed a lot, you're not comfortable in your body 9 times out of 10, or if you find that you're avoiding connecting with certain areas. Those of you who don't like looking at certain parts of your body, and for whatever the reason may be, that's a good clue. You're not grounded, because when you are fully 100% grounded in your body, you love every single inch and aspect of your body. And it was very interesting to learn that there was some people who've been through certain things. They don't even want to look at certain parts of their body. Like, it's a fear. Like, it is like fight or flight. Like, the mind links it to, oh my gosh, I'm in danger if I even look at it, let alone touch it. These kinds of things are clues to where you might not be as grounded. So for me, I was very much grounded in like esoteric type stuff and spiritual stuff. I was not grounded in my physical body. You asked me how my feet feel, I couldn't tell you. You asked me what physical signs your body tells you when you're anxious, I couldn't tell you before. Like, no. That's one of the reasons why I love sleeping, because I wasn't physically here. I was dreaming or, in like, deep sleep. And so all of these things are very different clues of patterns. And when you notice one, I want to encourage you to consider doing one thing, one small thing that you can do every day. One small thing that you can do every day that feels safe to your mind. Now, safe and uncomfortable, not the same thing, okay? I don't want y'all going into panic attacks. We don't want that. You know what I'm saying? But discomfort, want to lean into that. You know, if you lean into that discomfort, you're going to learn more. You're going to get a different result. And I mean like mild discomfort, okay? If it is like completely distressing, we don't go down that road by ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I am a firm believer of getting extra support for that. But if it's something small, like that is small to you, like, you know, like I said, it could be something as simple as like an exercise like before. Like, oh, I see a star hanging from the moon, and now I see a moon hanging from a star. You know what I'm saying? Just baby steps. Because what you're doing right now is you are literally changing your whole life. You're not just getting over a block. You know, these steps are not just to get you over a block and get you unstuck just for the time being, and then you end up stuck all over. You know what I'm saying? These are not quick fixes. This is not going to be like, oh, all your pain is gone. A lot of times when you're healing, you're going to find that your body is going to bring up the pain that's ready to be released so it can be released from your body. So it's not just cycling and being stored and, you know, adding more weight to your physical body. You know what I'm saying? And so I encourage you to find one thing. It does not have to be this huge hour-long thing. It could be something that you do for 10 seconds. We all can find 10 seconds in our day. And if you think otherwise, that is something in the mind, and that's a good clue of something that needs your attention, okay? Like figuring out what one thing you can do in what one area. So if you know that you're like, ooh, I'm not ready to deal with the emotional and the mental stuff right now, like the trauma's too fresh, it's strong, we ain't ready to do that right now, or I want to wait until I get established with a professional, by all means, I get it. You know, what about something in the physical? You know, if you want to do something that's more physical that doesn't require like, you know, exercising or going deep into your thoughts, practice deep breathing. That's a simple but super effective thing. When you are taking slower, deep breaths in and not the hyperventilating, heavy breathing that some of you guys are used to, I know who's here. Your girl's been there. Notice how your breathing changes when you are in different moods, when you're in different situations. That is a major clue to what's going on as far as your thoughts, your emotions, your energy. You know, if you end up in a situation or you are doing something and you find, or dealing with a certain person or something, and you find, or you're focusing on something and you find your breathing starts to speed up, like hyperventilating, or like it's just more labored, try to just for a moment slow the breathing down a little bit. You'd be surprised how many different processes that go on in your mind and in your brain and in your body. You'd be surprised how many processes that by itself starts to interrupt and slow down. And I found for me personally, when I was feeling pain and it like got my attention, I'm like, ooh, you know, when I started to deep breathing in and out, like slow, deep breaths, I noticed my pain was not as intense when I did that. And it's actually, for those of you who are familiar with or can imagine how painful, you know, labor is, those of you who have had kids, that's a big part of that they get coached to do, that the mom gets coached to do, is breathing. And it's for a reason. It brings you to the present, for one, and for two, it interrupts and slows down and can ease that process that is amplifying whatever, you know, mess that you're kind of, or chaos that you feel like you're kind of stuck in, you know. So those are the 6 different ways, like I said, My process that I found helpful was to pick one thing in one body, because I call them the five bodies, but we have five different aspects of our body that all contribute to what we are feeling as far as our pain, our stress, us being stuck, us feeling like our suffering, right? So there's the mental, there is the emotional. I separate those two because some people are really connected to their feelings and have blocks in their thoughts, and vice versa. So they do interact, but that's why I separate those there. There's the physical body, which most people are familiar with. Then there's the spiritual body, your connection to your higher power, your connection to that inner light that's within you that you don't always see when you're in a bad mood. And when I say that you don't always see, again, that's a thought that your mind does not always see, but you kind of know it's there. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the energetic body, because all of these things are connected with energy. And those of you who've gotten vibes from people, right? You're feeling their energy. You don't call it that. You might call it a vibe when they go and say something, or you get a certain vibe or a gut feeling about a situation, but all of that is actually just energy in different forms. And the energy kind of connects through all of these, right? So figuring out which area, which body do you want to start with? What one thing can you do every day? It does not have to take up your entire day. It does not have to be a huge ritual. Just one thing that you want to do that is in line with you, that is authentic to you, that is going to help restore balance to that area of your body. Doing it for 30 days, seeing what shifts happen with all the other areas of your body and your life, and be like, okay, where do I want to go next? Because I found when I tried to go and do all of them, I got overwhelmed and I shut down. And I'm sure I'm not alone on that. Right? And knowing, how to connect to my intuition better, what to do when I try something and it doesn't really work out, what to do when that resistance pops up, remembering why I really want to heal in the first place. I go over all of those things in my course, Stop Suffering, Start Thriving, because I found that my process that really was key to speeding up my healing process. So instead of it taking 7+ years to get one breakthrough, that was me before, instead I was able to really kind of bounce back and gain my independence again. My pain started to subside. I started to notice that I was more positive. I was more happy. I was fulfilled. I felt more connected to myself. And I noticed changes in everyone around me because I was different. All of this stuff happened just for doing this process for 7 months. And it didn't take 7 months for me to start to feel the shift. So I am super excited to offer that to you guys. I am going to put those links in the description if that is something that resonates with you, okay? But regardless of whether you end up working with me or you find some other group or you find some other person whose process to really get unstuck, to go and balance yourself, to really turn your life around and make a change, whatever it is, I want you to commit to it, okay? I lived for many years in the land of maybe, I don't know, and indecisiveness. And guess what? Nothing got done because I was stuck in that space, right? That headspace. It's better to go and be like, yes, I'm going to do it. And to get some information about, is this working? Is this not? Or no, I'm going to go and do something different. Get that information on whether or not this is working or it's not. Then to sit there in maybe land and you don't do anything because you're literally in analysis paralysis. I know what it's like to be there. I do. It's not a fun place to be. Okay. So I really encourage you to take the time to make a decision. What is your life worth to you? What experiences do you want to have in life, or that you don't ever want to have again in life? Because those are there too. Those teach us and fuel us too, right? And I want you to really think about what it is that you want to experience. What is your why? You know what I'm saying? Is your why to go and be able to have that dream career? Is that why to be able to go and give your kids the things that you didn't have? Is that why to be able to go and, travel someplace? Is that why just to be able to be like, you know what? I like being here. There's no wrong way to do this, but I really want to encourage you and invite you to give yourself permission to let your imagination go and ask yourself, what if I could have that? What if I did that? What if I experienced that? Again, this is not an easy journey by any means of the imagination. Healing is not an easy journey. But I do want to go and say you're on a healing journey right now. You can be in your darkest place right now and you're healing. Because you are at a point where you're learning like, okay, I'm not putting up with this anymore, or I want something different. That's healing. Going and doing a challenge like this, that's healing. Learning from other people who have been able to succeed in whatever you're trying to do, that's healing. And while I would love to be that person to go and support you and go further in this journey with you, if someone else is what is what you need, that's fine too. I just want you to go and do something different, because if you go and stop this challenge and you go and you stay stuck in maybe, you don't do anything different, and you took this as oh, that's nice to know, your results are going to be the same as before you came here. And so I really encourage you to go and do something different. It doesn't have to be something huge, but something to kind of shake things up, even if it's just some random spontaneous thing, So that about wraps up this live stream too. So I am really proud of you guys. You made it to the end of the Rise Above Your Pain challenge. If you've been here and gone all in with me, you guys already have the tools to really help enhance and jumpstart your healing journey, getting over these blocks, stopping the suffering, easing some of that pain. There's so many different things you could do, but what I encourage you to do is a final action step, okay? A final action step I'm going to leave you with is to pick one thing that you are going to do different today. One way that you are going to invest in yourself today, because when you invest in yourself, you're able to give a better version of yourself to the people around you that you care about. How much is that worth to you? For me, that is absolutely priceless. Whether the motivation is so you can be the best you can for other people or for yourself, don't matter. What matters is that you're investing in yourself. Okay? And remember, you don't have to go through this alone. You really don't. So I have all of these videos, like all of these live streams are all together already in a playlist now. So you can go and rewatch, or if you missed one of them and you need to go back, you can go back and rewatch all of these. I'm keeping them on my channel here. So I'm going to put the link here for the replays. There we go. Like I said, if my process resonates with you, I want you to click on that link for the Stop Suffering, Start Thriving course. It is going to guide you through the exact steps that gave me the tools to be able to change things and turn things around in a much faster time and with much less headache than all of the times I tried to figure everything out on my own. And honestly, it saved me a lot of money because now I'm not on my medications, because I've healed enough where I don't need to be on those medications. I ended up losing weight without me having me having to put in all that effort that I was trying to do for years and I wasn't getting any results. And I started this process and all the stress weight just started falling off on its own. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like that's a nice bonus, So think about all the other different ways that you putting in and really investing in your healing journey. Think of all the different ways that you're going to save in time, in money, in frustration, in stress. My hair was actually starting to go gray. I don't see that anymore. It's that powerful. And I invite you to do what you feel you need to do to take your healing journey to the next level. You don't have to go and sit there and suffer for 50 years to get one breakthrough. We don't have to do that. So those of you who are already on the VIP access, I'm going to head on over in about 15 minutes, right, to go through a Q&A call there. This will be the last one. If you are interested in having the access to those recordings for the Q&As for all 5 of the days of the challenge, I do have that available. Okay, so that way you can go and watch those. Those are definitely really good for enhancing your experience and really helping to infuse all of this stuff that you're learning even more into your mind and your body. Because remember, the mind goes on repetition, but it also is nice to have things in a different perspective. And I answer a lot of questions that a lot of people end up asking on the internet. So if that is something that you're interested in, I will go and put that link on there as well. You'll be able to find it in the playlist actually with all of these replays of the live stream. And with that said, I want to end with this. I see you. I hear you. I honor you. And I thank you for letting me be a part of your healing journey. It takes a lot to go and show up, but it also takes a lot to go and give your time to working with somebody, to really put yourself first. So I want to thank you for giving me that honor and that privilege. Whether you are watching this live with me or if you end up, finding this video later down the line, that's totally okay too, So with that said, I wish you guys nothing but the best. I hope to see you guys again. And if I don't, well, I like to say there are no goodbyes, there are only see you laters. So I'll see you guys later.